Nicole's like, oh, by the way, it counts down. This is my first time using Riverside being the host. We're, as you know, having a guest on this. I've recorded solos by myself and Brittany and I use it, but this is the first one. And Nicole's like, by the way, it counts down. So thanks, Nicole.
Yeah, glad to be of help.
I'm so excited that you're here. It's a long time coming, and I reached out to you, probably the last week or something like that when Caroline was on the show. And I was like, gosh, you know what? I would love to have you on. And I think that we've known each other long enough now that you're ready to kind of like talk about your story and how you got here. And before we hit record, you were just like, you know what? I'm taking a book from the Everything Works Out for Me. So how's that going for you? The Everything Works Out for Me.
It's going well. It's just funny because I saw you say that a lot, and I saw you a while back. It was when you were actually talking about your rent car situation.
Oh yeah.
And you got like the nice upgrade and all that, which is a small thing, but I really do think, and a lot of this has come from our work together, if you have the mindset of it's all gonna work out, when you look back, it does. I mean, it really does. And the more that you see that, the easier it is to believe that over time. And I'm not saying that there's not stress that comes into play or worry that comes into play, but I do think you kind of have to build that muscle and trust that, of course, you have to do the work alongside of it, but things do work out if you allow yourself to believe that.
Thank you for explaining that, because I feel like I have said it for such a long time. And if anyone's listened to this podcast or followed me for such a long time and you still don't get it, it's like one of those things that it's just a muscle. It's like confidence. It's like anything. Like the more that you use it, the stronger it becomes. And once you start truly believing that everything works out for you, it's like insane. It's almost magic. Like I hate to kind of use that, but it's almost magic how you can like find the way. And it's the law of attraction. It's because it's just you're looking for how it's going to work out. But the more that you do it, it's wild how much it happens.
I agree. And I do think there is something about like you just start noticing the things, but that's with everything. You have to be paying attention. Like I do believe that God or the universe or whatever it is that you believe in, there's always signs, but you have to be paying attention and not be so distracted just moving through life that you're not seeing the signs.
Yeah. And that's like one of the things, like Nicole and I've been working together for like 6 months now. We've known each other a little bit longer than that. And I've always said, like, if I can give my clients one thing in our journey together, whether it's, 6 months or 6 years or whatever, it's learning how to trust that. It's learning how to pay attention to those signs. And I think, I was even talking to one of my clients the other day. She works with a different coach as well. And she's like, this other woman who she's been working with she's like, it's very black and white with her. And I was like, it's never black and white for anyone. And I think the truth is always for you to figure out. And I think that if I can give anyone anything, it's like, trust yourself, trust your gut, like knowing how to like work that muscle, because you will figure it out. You will find it and you have the answers. Like no one else has the answers for you. Like Nicole has the answers for Nicole. And it's just like building that muscle.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point, because I do think that we want things to be black and white. And so even like when we started working together at first, we hopped on a clarity call that, but then like that deep dive call, and I do think sometimes even myself, I'm like, I want someone to just tell me, right? Like, I just want you to tell me, but you do a really good job of asking the questions, but being like, well, I don't know, you have to know. And I think that does allow the person like myself to build confidence in their decision making. Because a lot of times I've worked in corporate America majority of my life, and there's someone always telling you what to do. So you kind of lose that ability to trust yourself a little bit when making decisions, even if they're not big sometimes. And like you said, it's just a muscle and you have to get used to it. And once you do, it's pretty empowering.
Yeah, it's so empowering. And that's like kind of like the confidence thing, or like just learning how to trust yourself or whatever it is. Because even like the smallest things, what works for Nicole, like I've worked with hundreds of people over the years. Right now I've got, 28, 29 clients. And it's like, what is the best and most aligned for Nicole is not the best and most aligned for everyone else. And like, that's the whole point. It's like, there's not one way to make money. There's not one way to be happy. There's not one way to be successful. There's not one way to do anything. I mean, if you think about like, I always go back to like athletes, but like some of the best athletes in the world have unbelievably different techniques, have unbelievably different ways that they got there. So how anyone can think that there's just one way to do it, or they have to copy what that other person who's successful is doing, to me, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because it takes away I think the authenticity of who you are. And once you kind of start showing up as who you really are and not being as scared, which that was always a thing for me, is like putting myself out there. I think we're all scared of being judged, right? Or like, what are people going to think? I do think it gets easier to care less about that the older you get and the more that you just show up and put yourself out there and realize that you're not for everybody. There's always going to be haters, but that really says more about that person than it does about you, and kind of push through it. And that's another thing that you just kind of have to have a thick skin a little bit.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you were in corporate for a really long time. And then I'd love to kind of talk about your story, because I know so many people are going to resonate with it today. And we're going to kind of jump all over. One of the things that you said in your intake form before this call was the most important decision that you made. And I really want to talk about that, which I think is like, you know, today we're going to talk about mindset and wellness and health and just like the journey of it all. But I love that. But let's start from like, give us a little background on who Nicole is and how we got here today.
Yeah. So I started off, I got a communications degree, and, you know, thought I was going to do PR and have this like really cool job that didn't work out. I fell into sales very early 20s. And eventually fell into healthcare, or pharmaceutical sales was my first stint in healthcare. And at the time, I mean, I was probably 24, 25 years old when I first started. And like, that was the job to have if you were in sales and be in the pharma world. They pay really well. There's a lot of perks, a lot of benefits. And that's still true. When I was young, I just didn't even really think about it. I was just enticed by being able to, I'm going to be honest, like just being able to say I had that job, and then like the money that came along with it, just being young and needing to earn money. I was a young mom. I had my first child at 24, was married then as well. And so I started there, and I've since moved from one company to another. I moved out of pharma for a bit and sold like imaging equipment, capital equipment, which felt a little bit more aligned. And then I went back into pharma, out of sales in like an access and reimbursement role, which is more about like helping patients navigate the insurance piece. Like, hey, will your insurance pay for this? Can we figure out a way to make that happen? Those sorts of things. But all along, at the end of the day, if I'm being really honest, I'm not morally super aligned with big pharma companies. And I definitely think they have a place. So I don't, modern medicine is necessary. We need advancements in medicine. We need money to back that. There needs to be research. That's how we come up with cures for stuff. But I definitely think there's greed in it, if I'm being honest. And I think that also we're so reliant on that in America. Like, instead of wanting to help ourselves or fix ourselves a little bit, we just go to the doctor. And before you know it, you're on 5 or 6 or 7 different medications because this one has this side effect, so now you're taking this one. And when a lot of what you could do and make lifestyle changes as far as like how you're eating, are you exercising, are you managing your stress, getting quality sleep, all of those things can have really huge, profound impacts on people's lives. And the truth is, and people don't want to hear this, is that a lot of times we're just too lazy to do the work. And so we become reliant on things like big pharma or in pharmaceuticals. And those are a business that are for profit. I mean, like and we trust our doctors so much. And I think most people are very well intentioned. Doctors are in America, for the most part, trained to treat symptoms, not understand the root cause, not figure out why do you have high cholesterol in the first place, and things like that. And so it hasn't been really morally aligned for me for a while. I mean, that personally, I struggle with that because I feel a little bit like a hypocrite because they are paying my bills. Back right after I started working with Christina, actually the company I was with went through a restructuring, and I knew that this was probably going to happen. I had the opportunity to step away from the company, and I did that. And I've been really focused on more my health coaching career, which we can dive into that too. I kind of started that in COVID, pumped the brakes a little bit, and then this kind of gave me motivation to get back into health coaching along with my podcast. And now I am actually looking for something that will be more aligned. It'll probably still be in the healthcare industry. I was talking to Christina before we hit record about this company that I'm talking to, but it's definitely something that I think that I won't go to sleep at night and feel a little bit guilty about. So I'm excited.
Yeah, there's so much there. And I think that there's going to be a ton of people that resonate with that. There's a ton of people that, I think there was a big wake up in our world, around COVID times. I think that was definitely an eye opener for a lot of people. But I do agree. Like, I think, especially coming from Canada, I'm originally from Canada. I actually don't feel, and maybe I was just younger and I didn't see it, but I don't feel like Canada was as reliant on medicine when, like, I came to the South and, like, people, like, just wake up and take, like, 2 Tylenol just as, like, a normal practice. And they're taking, like, 7 different, pharmaceuticals. Well, you got to take this one for this one and this one for this one. And I'm just, like, I probably have taken a bottle of Tylenol in my whole entire life. Like, it was just one of those things. It was just the way I grew up. But I totally agree with you. I think that, it's just kind of like anything. I think a lot of people just want the easy button and they want to, just, I'll take this pill and it'll figure it out. But just like in business, it's exactly the same thing, right? It's like, it takes work, it takes effort, it takes energy, it's doing the things. And I think that, people listen to this podcast for a long time. I hope that they start to realize that, like, that's actually the joy in it, is actually doing the things and actually taking care of yourself and, like, learning how. And the hard is actually sometimes, like, the best part. But all of that to be said, I think it's wonderful that you had this kind of, like, come to Jesus moment. And I remember specifically, Nicole was actually at our retreat. And one of the things that you said there was, I know that my company's about to do a restructuring. And I feel like this is almost, I don't know if it's a God sign or whatever it is, but it's almost like I'm given this opportunity to chase the thing that I want to chase. And I'll never forget that you said that in front of everyone. And we were just all in awe because we knew it was the moment that you actually needed to do the thing that you say you want to do.
Yes. Yeah. And I think sometimes things have to happen to kind of force you. Like there'll be signs, like we were talking about earlier, like God or the universe or whatever, like is kind of like lightly knocking at the door. And then it's like, hey, you say you want this, you're not listening. How about I just really make it get obvious for you right now? So that's what happened. But like you said, I really think it was a godsend. I mean, I almost manifested that it was going to happen that way, even though look, nobody wants to feel like they're getting laid off or those companies restructuring, they're eliminating your position. Like, that's still not always a fun position to be in. But I knew that if that happened, I needed to look at that as an actual sign and as an opportunity versus living in victimhood around it.
Yes. But before that, one thing that you mentioned, before that, you decided to get your health coaching. So you were in pharmacy, you were in pharmaceuticals, and you decided to get your health coaching certificate. What prompted that? Because I know a lot of people are like, well, she has a great job. She's making multiple 6 figures, doing all the things. Why would you go get your health coaching certificate?
Yeah, I got that. It was around COVID or it was like probably pre-COVID, right when I started, and then went into COVID as I was getting that certification. I think because I wish I had like a huge aha moment to share. I don't. But what I do think is 2 things. One, because my entire career has been in healthcare, and a lot of it has been in and out of hospitals, like working in hospitals, like whether that's setting up equipment or working with people who do that. I've seen really sick people a lot. And I learned early on that if you don't take care of yourself, like right now, like what we're doing today in our 40s is going to impact how we feel if we're fortunate enough to be here in our 70s and what that life looks like. And I've seen people on oxygen and in hospital beds that, quite frankly, if they had taken better care of themselves, they might not be in that position. Now, look, there's always exceptions to that, right? Like horrible things happen to really healthy people, or it's just a nuance. I'm not trying to discount that in any way, but I think I just saw firsthand what it will look like if you're not taking care of yourself. And for me, that was really motivation. And then just being a mom on top of that. And understanding, it really started with food for me and nutrition, and understanding that like what we eat, I mean, food is either medicine or it's the opposite. And that was just something I've been really passionate about. It's just, you know how certain things just click for you. For me, reading about that, learning about that, listening about that is actually very interesting. And so I became really passionate about it and moved forward with getting that certification through the Integrative Institute, which is like based out in New York. It's a lot of people get their health coaching certification through them, because I wanted that. I wanted the certification to be, taken more seriously. I mean, rightfully so. People would want to see that you have some sort of training in it. But for me, it's really about just educating people. people. You can do whatever you want with the knowledge. If you still want to take the 7 pills a day, knowing that changing what you eat or exercising and all that could eliminate some of that, that's fine. But I just want people to be a little bit more educated, because I think we're just get on autopilot and do what the person tells us to. We're not asking the questions of like, well, what is this going to do for me long term? Well, why is my cholesterol high in the first place? And so I just want people to start asking questions and build their knowledge. And then what they decide to do is up to them.
I want to, this podcast has oftentimes relied on mindset. And I know that there's something that you and I've talked about. And I feel like I have gotten this numerous times, whether it be with like my business life, like why do I work so hard because I already have money, or why are you like whatever. Something that you have dealt with that I'm sure other people are going to understand is why does and Nicole is, if she stood up, you could see her in real life. She's little itty bitty tiny thing. How has that been in the fact that how do people say, well, easy for you? Must be nice for you, all of that type of stuff. How have you dealt with that, and how has that impacted you in putting yourself out there publicly to say, hey, I'm a health coach, and yeah, I'm already pretty damn little?
Yeah, I think that's a good question for sure. And I definitely have struggled with that a little bit, because I think sometimes people my mind will tell me like, oh, well, if people see me, they're like, oh, that's easy for her to say. She's already small. And I am genetically blessed in that way. I also work hard, but if you saw my family line, you would be like, okay, they're all just small. What I would say to that though is you can be skinny and be really unhealthy, whether that's mentally or physically. And so it's just, you think you want to see someone that's really obese to either struggle with their weight or struggle with their mindset around it. And the truth is, there's people like myself. I just went to the beach not long ago, and I was like, oh, I just don't feel as good in a bathing suit as I normally do. Or as I have in the past. It still messes with your head. And I think that that's one of the things we need to talk about, is that body image issues and being healthy, like what you look like is just kind of the pretty package on the outside, and it has nothing to do with what you either feel like on the inside. And most of the women that I've talked to, whether it's on my podcast or coaching or my own daughter, that have struggled with body image issues, you would look at them and think, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? They look great. They look healthy. They're skinny. They look fantastic. And so it doesn't discriminate. That voice in the head doesn't discriminate regardless of what size you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally attest. I've never been obese by any means, but for probably 15 years, I struggled with an eating disorder, and it actually had nothing to do with the food and everything to do with the inside. So your podcast is called The Wealthy, Healthy Life. And I think that I would love for you to kind of describe why you started the podcast and why your kind of brand is The Wealthy, Healthy Life. And if you look it up, it's not spelt wealthy like money. It's spelt wealthy like healthy, wealthy.
Yes, it is a play on words, because for me, I do believe, that health is wealth. Like, you think that you want all these things until you don't feel good, or you actually are sick or something happens, and then you realize that like your health is what is most important, because it allows you to do everything else that you want to do in life. So I actually started that Instagram page when I was training for a marathon. I can't even remember what I called it, but it was something about documenting that. And in that time frame is when I was really kind of going down my own wellness and health journey, and eventually changed it to The Wealthy Healthy Life and got my coaching certification. And I honestly launched the podcast, I guess it's been about a year and a half or more now, because I was so interested in this stuff and listening to these conversations that I wanted other people to have an easy way to do it as well. And I think I love listening to a podcast while I'm working out or while I'm driving or whatever it is. It's an easy way to get information. And so I just have incredible guests come on and talk about different wellness stuff, which I think people might think, okay, well, nutrition, working out, but it really goes way beyond that. It can be about mindset. It can be about finances. Like, all of these things play into wellness overall. And so I really just wanted it to be a platform for people to easily get some of the information that I was getting.
Yeah, I think that that's so cool and very permission giving for anyone who's listening. I think that a lot of people think that they have to have this huge platform before they start a podcast, or they need to monetize it like right off the bat. And I was listening actually to a woman in the branding space. And she said, when she first started out, she's like, okay, what's the simplest way that I can get around very educated people who have already done something? And it's to start a podcast, because most people want to, be a guest on a podcast most of the time to share their message, to do their things. If anyone out there is thinking about, how do I get information and how do I get in front of people, start a podcast and do the thing that Nicole's done, which is continue the podcast. I was telling her, a few months back on one of our calls that like most people don't even ever get to 20 episodes. I think like they say that 5% of podcasts actually get above 20 episodes. And so just a massive congrats to you for just like doing the damn thing. And, you haven't monetized it yet. I haven't monetized mine yet, just to be able to say that you've done something very consistently and it's continued you down the road. I think it's wonderful. What are some of the best, what are the most like memorable moments from your podcast so far?
Oh gosh. One, I got to interview Sloane Stevens, which is like this badass tennis star. So that was kind of I didn't even realize exactly. I knew she was good and all that, but I didn't even realize, probably good that I didn't when I interviewed her. I would have been a little more intimidated. And then after I was talking to my husband and my son, her partner is a soccer player, which my husband and son are big soccer guys. So they're like, oh my God, that's who you interviewed, so that was pretty cool. But also, personally, I'm kind of in that perimenopause phase. And so I've had multiple guests, whether they're physicians or dietitians, nutritionists, come on and talk about those sorts of things. And I always find those things so interesting. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need to do that, or maybe I need to try that. But yeah, I mean, you probably feel this way too. A lot of times when I go back and edit the episode, when you're in it, you're like, in it, so you're not as able to absorb all of it. But when I go back and edit, I'm like, God, there are so many people that just have so much great tangible advice. I don't always agree with everybody, but that's important too, to like be able to have people have different voices and different points of view, and then you can decide what settles for you and leave the rest behind.
Yeah, take what you want and leave with what you don't. I love that line. I got that from a professional golfer years ago. He said, just be a sponge, but take what you want and leave what you don't. So one thing that you mentioned right there was your husband. And I foreshadowed it in the beginning of this episode. One of the questions I ask in the intake form for the podcast is, what is one of the best decisions or one of the biggest decisions that you've ever made in your life? And you said something that I really want to dive into, which I definitely think, goes with a wealthy, healthy life, is you said the biggest decision you've ever made was picking your partner. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that is a big influence on how your whole life will be, is picking the partner that works for you, because you're going to spend more time with that person than anyone else in your life if you're given the opportunity and you guys stay together. Like when you think about it, we just celebrated our 21st wedding anniversary. We were together for a few years before we got married. Like, lived with him longer than I lived with my parents, right? My kids move out at 18. So he's going to be the longest person in my life. Picking that really will influence what you go on and do. And if I didn't have someone that let me be who I am, I wouldn't have started a podcast. I wouldn't have gone for the health coaching degree. I think he just does a really good job. We do a good job of allowing each other to be who we are, and we don't agree on everything. He is not of the, I'm always like, I've got a new idea, and he's not like that. He's like, this is my job. This is what I do for fun. That's it. But he's like, okay. He doesn't be like, why are you doing that? I can't believe you're doing it. He's really supportive. And I think that is and we're over communicators in our relationship. And you're either that way or you're not. We've certainly had ups and downs. Like I said, we've been together 21 years. I think we've both probably thought this isn't going to work at some point, but not at the same time, fortunately. And yeah, I just think people don't realize that you're going to change a lot in your life, and it's important to pick someone that allows you to do that.
Yeah. How do you think you picked that? What were the determining factors? I'd love to know that. I'd love to, I think that this is just a beautiful conversation, because I 1000% agree with you. Take what you want. I'm taking this. I agree with you 100%.
Well, I think some of it's luck, let's be honest. I told you we got married when I was 24, but I think that there's instinct and intuition, like we were talking about early on, and you can't ignore the red flags. You can't hope that someone's going to change. Believe, what is the saying where they say, when someone shows you who they are, believe them? I try to tell that to my daughter who's 20 and in college now, like you see the dating and you're like, God, I made that mistake myself, like you see it, but you have to figure it out for yourself. You do. But I'm like, believe who someone shows you they are, not who they tell you are who they are, but who they show you they are. And then I think just being really honest with each other as you are in the relationship, and you can't be scared to have difficult conversations. A lot of people don't want, it's crazy to me how many people will get married and like not know that the other person had no idea how to manage a checking account, or had no idea if they wanted kids, or what their thoughts were on religion. Like, these are conversations that you have to have before you get married. So I think just not being scared of the hard conversations. And then there is luck involved, let's be honest.
Oh, 100% for sure. But I believe that everything works out for me. And I remember when I came to Arkansas, I literally did not want to come. Like, I don't even know if I've ever said this before, but I remember being at my country club in Canada working, and I was like 21 years old, and I told them that I got a scholarship to go to Arkansas, and they're like, that's where they like marry their brother. Like, promise me you will not marry your brother. Like, it was just like that. But I had no idea, right? And so it's just like the aligning events, like my best friend's roommate. I completely agree with you. Have you guys gone through anything? Like, is there any like key pivotal moment? Like, I've talked a lot on this podcast about Nathan and I's relationship, but I'd love to know from you, like 21 years together, you guys are extremely happy. You're both very successful. Like, is there something that like a defining moment where you guys did something different, or what you think that has really been a big moment for y'all?
I think honestly, it's just going through really shitty times and coming out on the other side. And then you have that to reference, right? So we've both been in this, like, some level of sales career forever. We've both lost our jobs more than once. That's tough, right? Like, that's very stressful. I've gone through my husband losing his mom, who was a huge part of our lives, like very involved with our grandkids, just like like such a super mom. We lost her to Alzheimer's. It's been like 7 or 8 years ago now. So I think it's just weathering storms together. And when you do that and you do come out on the other side, I think then you know that you can, just like we're talking about, it builds that muscle of knowing, like, we might be in a shitty time right now because my husband's really stressed, so he's being more of an asshole because he's, lost his job or whatever, but like knowing that will change. Like, the highs and the lows are temporary, so you have to ride the roller coaster carefully, I feel like, and have that mindset that like, nothing's permanent.
Yes. I think that that's such a key thing. I think a lot of people, like, when you're in the depths of it, when you're in the lows of it, how do you take care of yourself? So obviously, as a health coach, you have a signature formula, which I'd love for you to talk about, but I know you well enough to know, like, part of that is, taking care of yourself mentally and physically, emotionally, all of the things. But how do you help yourself through those, deep moments?
Yeah, I think it's over time recognizing the patterns that you have and knowing that, like, hey, I'm in a mental funk, maybe I'm kind of down or I'm depressed, and realizing that is temporary. Like I said, like, hey, I've been here before and I'll come out of it. But I do know for me, like, exercising and eating well helps a lot. Like, honestly, exercise is a big stress reliever for me. And so I know that if I'm taking care of myself in that regard, I'm going to feel better. Also, really like meditation. I'm not always super consistent with it, but I know if I can kind of start my day with that and just have some moments of quiet doing my meditation. It doesn't have to be like a 20 or 30-minute meditation, that I know that I carry that kind of calmness throughout the day. But the reality is that sometimes when you are really in the trenches, you don't want to do the things that make you feel better. And I've gone through therapy. If I'm being honest, I've been on antidepressants in my life. I mean, I think it's important to do what you've got to do to take care of yourself, whatever that looks like, and just know that you can come out on the other side. And mental health is such a struggle for everyone right now, but especially those younger generations, which is really concerning, because without that, you don't have much. No. None of the rest of the shit matters if you're miserable.
Yes, 100%. I mean, I think I've said that 1,000 times. It's like, I don't care if you're making, $10 million a year. If you're fucking miserable and you hate your life and you're always like, I have a good buddy, richest fucker I know. And it's just like, we'll always find the most negative thing in the situation. And I'm just like, I was thinking to myself, I was like, wow, if I had my mindset in your life, I would be so fuck you well.
You're right, though. It is mindset to some degree. I mean, it is looking for the good versus the bad. I like people to look at like gratitude journals or honestly just waking up and saying three things that you're thankful for. And it doesn't have to be profound. It can be coffee, it can be the sunshine, But it's weird. Your brain believes what you tell it. It really does. And so, whether that's shitty talk or great talk, over time, it believes what you tell it.
That's exactly it. I was on a podcast just like a couple of days ago and I was trying to, I was a guest and I was like, if you could think about it this way, your brain is a computer. It's programmed one way. If you want it to do something different, just like your computer, you're going to have to program it a different way. And that is exactly what we're doing. And I just don't think very many people talk about that, but it's like, that's 100% it. Like all of the things that Nicole does on a daily basis, that I do, that a lot of my clients do, it is just the reprogramming, the consistency. And once you do it enough, your brain's like, this is true. I mean, think about how many people, like, I don't know if those are people or narcissists or whatever, but like how many people believe something is so true to their absolute bones. It's kind of like the whole thing, how we started this podcast, like everything works out for me. I have said that phrase probably literally a million times in the last 15 years, if not more than that. So my brain almost like, I don't think my brain doesn't think that that's a lie. Like it might be a lie, but my brain doesn't believe it's a lie.
Yeah, like the rent car situation, you could have been like, nothing works out for me because of the first thing, right? And then you went to the other counter and you got like a really nice car or whatever. And so your brain is already trained to see the good, to see the positive. And I think people think it's not that, like, I think it's almost like you don't believe it can be that easy.
Yeah.
Right.
It's actually like what Nicole and I are talking about. I've said it before. I was like, it is actually super simple. Like the shit that we do on a daily basis, like, it's very simple. Nothing is like hard. Like a 5-year-old could do this. The hard part is doing it when you're in a bad mood, doing it when you don't want to, doing it when it's raining or someone's pissed you off or your kids or you're tired or all. That's the hard part. But like the actual steps to creating a wealthy, healthy life are very, very simple.
And I would say to that, like one of the big reasons why I decided to work with you is because I wanted someone to hold me accountable. Like a lot of times we know what we need to do. A lot of this, like you said, it's not rocket science. It can be simple, but having someone to hold you accountable to the things that you say you're going to do, and you know that follow up is coming. For me, that's something I've just learned I need. Like I need somebody to hold me accountable. I hold myself accountable in a lot of ways, again, it goes back to like, what are you interested in? What motivates you? And so for mindset stuff, for thinking, building more confidence, for taking more chances, I needed someone to say like, you said you're going to do this, so have you? And I think could be the missing piece for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Even with you in the health coaching. I mean, you guys, if you're listening to this and you know you want to take different small actions, even if it's the smallest action, and because this is what most people do, I should be able to do this myself. Like I should be able to, like I know what to eat. I know what to add to my life. I know I have to work out. But the problem is we just don't do it. Like, just like you said, like most of the things that we talk about on a daily basis, yeah, we get you clarity on like, okay, let's do this. This has worked for other people. But most of it, it's like, and I mean, think about it. Like even like you could pay Ed Milet $50,000 a call or whatever it is. But most of that shit you can Google on the internet or chat GPT it. Nowadays, I think even strategy, like most people aren't hiring people now for strategy. They're hiring them for like the empathy. They're hiring for them for like the ability to have human connection, to be able to like have accountability and do all the things. Like as far as I know, ChatGPT isn't like on your ass being like, have you done the fucking thing, right? But I think that that's a reason why people need to have the health coach, why people need to have the coach, because the human beings we're really lazy, actually. Most of us are like, we want the easy way out. We want like, to feel good instantaneously. We don't want to do the hard thing most of the time. But if you can have accountability, if you can pay someone, if you can have skin in the game, if you can have someone that you can rely on, that one person who's going to hold you accountable, because you're being paid to do it. I mean, Nicole will be paid to hold you accountable to all of the shit that you need to do in order to achieve the goals that you want. Like, it's not really rocket science. Like, even this past week, the US Golf Open was on, and I was just like, all of these guys were talking about nutritionists, mindset coaches, like, physical trainers, all the things. If the greatest athletes in the world have like a team of 25 people holding them accountable, why wouldn't other people do it? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, if you're paying someone, I think you're more likely to do it if someone's asking you at the end of the month, week, whatever it is, like, hey, did you do what we're talking about? You can chat GPT, all kinds of stuff. Like you said, and a lot of what we're talking about is common knowledge anyway. It's the missing piece of keeping yourself disciplined and consistent, and also someone holding you accountable. And I think that can be, I will say this, I've invested in myself, like working with you or going on the retreat or building out the podcast or whatever. I've never regretted investing in myself, even if it didn't work out exactly how I had thought it was going to on the front end.
Yeah. And I think that that's something to remember too, is that, because one of, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but one of our calls, you were just like, gosh, if I do something different, does it mean I failed? It doesn't. But now it's like, when you have the belief that everything works out for you, and sometimes I think you need these seasons. I've had a ton of clients over the years. Nicole's not one. I'm not speaking directly about Nicole, but I've had a ton of clients over the years who come to me for one thing and they leave with a completely different thing, or that like the path takes them on a completely different way. One of my clients, she's actually posted about it publicly. Funny enough, she had an organizing company, and for years, she worked on it for about 4 years. She sent me a message. She said that she shut it down. She took more of a corporate job, and she says she's never been happier, and she doesn't regret a single thing along the way. She knew she needed to do it, but it led her on a different path. I think that we can never say never in anything. And I think that sometimes God knows what we need to do in order to get to the right place that we need to be. So whether you become the next, I don't know, who's the best, who's your idol when it comes to like the health coaching world?
Gosh, I really look up to Melissa Wood Health. I don't know if you follow her on Instagram or whatever. And she actually got her health coaching where I did as well. I didn't know that at the time, but she now has a whole platform. I don't want to do what she's doing, but I look up to her as a person in that wellness space for sure.
Yeah. I think it's just so wonderful how people just like, you just take the action to do the thing. What is one thing that you've learned about yourself along this journey that you're super proud of yourself about?
I think that I am easily adaptable. And I think that that's important. And kind of to what you're saying, I think like we get really myopic sometimes and we're like, well, I said I was going to do this, so I have to do this. It's okay to change your mind. Like it's okay to, like we were in one of our coaching calls. I don't remember exactly what we were talking about. And you're like, well, that's what it is now. So go with that because that's where you're at now. And if you get down the road and it changes, then it changes. And I'm like, we forget that. Like we want to hold ourselves to things that we said we wanted or that we liked 20 years ago. Like that's ridiculous. If you want to pivot in your career, I've changed a lot of how I feel about wellness and health over the years. I've been very restrictive in the past, and now I'm come to the conclusion that it's way more about balance, and it's okay to change your mind. And I would argue that if you're working with someone in any capacity that is dying on a hill of never changing their mind because they made a comment 10 years ago and they have to die on that hill, that is not the person to work with.
Amen to that, 150%. We are allowed to change you should change their mind. Yeah. You should evolve. You should believe things differently, because as we get older, we get more information. And when you get more information, you should be able to like pivot and change. Obviously, your signature formula in coaching, tell us kind of what that's about. Tell us kind of like how people work with you. Tell us kind of like what that all looks like and kind of what your ideal goal for a client is.
Yeah, I work one-on-one with clients, and I prefer to work with people for a minimum of 3 months, but I do have like a 1 month intensive for someone that is typically really motivated. It can take a bunch of information and adjust, but I do 1 month, 3 month, or 6 month contracts with people, and we really focus on 4 things. They're typical health things like nutrition, movement, stress management, and sleep. And then more recently, I've incorporated kind of the mindset piece when it comes to like, how are you really feeling about yourself on this journey? Like, are you still looking in the mirror and being like, I'm too fat, I can't wear shorts because I don't like my legs, I don't like my arm. Like, so we also really work on kind of that body image perception. I will say this, like, I think it's fine to want to lose weight. Like, that's another thing that I think that it's like the pendulum continues to swing. Like, people only want to lose weight, and then it's like, oh, we got to be body positive. And it's like, can't we just be in the middle? Like, it's fine to want to look good. It's fine to want to lose weight as long as you're not letting that control your life. So, a lot of it is focused on that. But it's really about meeting the person where they are. Like, some people might have two of those four buckets locked in and really need, like, they might be eating well, exercising, but they might be chronically stressed and sleeping like shit, which are huge drivers into not being able to lose weight and to, like, just not mentally feel your best. And so it's about meeting them where they're at, building that foundation, creating balance and a plan that is sustainable, because that's another thing. People are very motivated on the front end, when, especially when they hire someone, they want to lose all the weight right away, make all the changes right away, and then they burn out in 2 or 3 weeks, and it's just not sustainable. So it's about creating something that allows you to enjoy life, because that's really what it's all about. And I'm sorry, but most people, if they don't eat gluten, dairy, if they cut out 40 things, that's not enjoyable. It's not. I mean, you can do it, but you might look fantastic, but you're fucking miserable. So,
Oh, I love that so much because it's so true. You know that there's 1,000 women out there going, absolutely,
and hey, I've done
100%.
that. I've done that, and I did look good, and I'm not doing that anymore, you know? So that, again, it just goes back to, honestly, balance is the key thing in my practice today that might have been missing before. So.
Well, the caveat is Nicole still looks fabulous today. I'll be honest with you. You still look absolutely gorgeous. But you know what I also think too, one of the cool things, and I do want to kind of tell you out for this, is you are an amazingly happy person. You are a very balanced person. You are a person that I've gotten to know really well, and you have a really nice mindset about you. You're a very positive person. You're always willing to do the work, and you're always willing to put yourself out there. And it's not easy. It's not easy to do what you've done over the last, however long that you've been, doing this, the second part of your journey of your career. And none of this is easy. I mean, I think that something that I don't think people respect enough is that, truthfully, Nicole doesn't have to do this. You don't have to do this. You could just kick back in your very, very good, pharmaceutical job, live your life, but you're extremely passionate about this. And I think that those are the type of people that I'm honored to get to work with, because it is important. You care about this so deeply. You're willing to try. You're willing to put yourself out there. You're willing to learn. You're willing to do all of the things, like start a podcast and not have any idea what you're doing, social media, put yourself out there, do all the things that very few people are willing to do. And, that's huge respect. And you're also getting to help a lot of people. And so I commend you. I applaud you, and tell everyone where they can find you, where they can listen to the podcast, because you have had some absolutely fabulous guests. Just the other day, you had that menopause. Did that come out yesterday? I think I listened to it. Yeah, yesterday. It was good. I listened to it on my walk. So tell everyone the podcast, where they can find you, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. The podcast you can get on Apple, Spotify, all the places that you normally would. It's the Wealthy Healthy Life podcast. And on Instagram, Facebook, I'm on TikTok to enjoy it for fun, but I don't really post on there. But it's all at Wealthy Healthy Life.
You guys, please be sure to go follow Nicole, check out the podcast, and thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you.